What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. And in this video, I'll be taking you through the ultimate guide to the upcoming Game Week 21. So it's been actually a while since we've done a refresh of the ultimate guide, and thanks to the FA Cup weekend, a few extra days preparation, so I decided to do one for Game Week 21. Now, if you guys aren't aware, Game Week 21 has a pretty weird deadline. It's going to be on Tuesday evening, so just make sure that you guys are prepared for that and it doesn't creep up on you. So as always in these ultimate guides, I'll be going over the usual stats review, captaincy debate, but it's that time of the season again and the blanks and the doubles are fastly approaching. So don't worry, I won't be going over it in too much depth. That'll be a future video, and to be honest, we still have a bit of time there. So I'll just be focusing on the blank game weeks in this specific ultimate guide, but let me know if you guys want me to make a chip strategy video. I'll also give you guys some updates of some potential injuries and some potential teams. And as always, my favorite part, the projected goals and projected clean sheets. So if that's something you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So starting off with the team stats, and as mentioned, been a while since I've actually done a refresher of these. So as always, the left hand side will be the entire season and the right hand side will be over the last 6 game weeks. Now unfortunately, thanks to Liverpool and Everton, or actually thanks to the weather, Liverpool and Everton had a blank game week a few weeks ago. So they'll be the only team that has 5 game weeks. I know it's a little bit annoying there, but everyone else has 6 games except for Liverpool and Everton. So on the left hand side, Liverpool over the entire season have the highest XG non-penalty, and they're followed by Chelsea, Man City, Bournemouth, Arsenal, and finally Spurs. Now all these teams are a little bit predictable. Unfortunately, Bournemouth have suffered a striker shortage, and I'll talk about that shortly. But as a Semenyo owner, unfortunately haven't really capitalized on all this XG non-penalty, but they're having a great FPL season. Now on the right hand side, similar metrics except Brentford and Crystal Palace have entered the frame, as well as Newcastle at second. So over the last 6 games, Newcastle are the second best attack in the Prem at the moment, and that's why you might want to focus on them for the next week, especially for captaincy. Also shout out to Brentford if you guys do own him. Boomer, obviously the Southampton game was going to be very nice, and also Crystal Palace putting up some good numbers, and I might bring in Eze this week. But most of these teams pretty kind of expected. Obviously the informed teams, you guys can focus on them for your more differential players, whereas the left hand side has some more kind of solid contenders. Now jumping to the opposite end of the spectrum, the lowest XG non-penalty, you guys can either avoid these from attacker transfers or target them for your defensive players. So unfortunately, Everton at the top there with 1.02, they're followed by the newly promoted teams Ipswich, Leicester, and finally Southampton, and also Wolves and Nottingham Forest. So Forest are kind of the anomaly, having a great start to the season, but their XG non-penalty is pretty terrible. I guess it's just the fact that Chris Wood finishes so many low XG chances. So if you guys are a stats-based manager, you probably wouldn't go for Nottingham Forest, but Chris Wood is just on such a successful streak. On the right hand side, you guys can see why Everton are at the bottom there, very low numbers over the last 5 game weeks, only 0.62. We then have that newly promoted contingent, Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich, before finally Fulham and Aston Villa. A little bit surprised here that Villa are so low. So you guys can take these stats and make of it what you want. As mentioned, either avoid the attacks or target for your defenders. Quickly going over the highest expected clean sheets, so these will be the best defenses. Arsenal at the top there, followed by Forest. Now the reason I want to focus on Forest is that they are facing Liverpool, or actually are third, so this game could be absolutely boring. I do however think there will be a winner, but it's going to be quite a tight game. And do you guys want to captain Salah against the second best defense over the season? We also have Fulham, Aston Villa, Newcastle, so some surprise entries here. The lack of Man City is pretty expected. Now on the right hand side, Arsenal have kicked it up recently, 0.61, however the clean sheets haven't been there. But nice to see the numbers are still looking pretty good before Spurs in Game Week 21. Newcastle also showing some improvement, and then we have Liverpool, Forest also be consistent, and then Bournemouth just carrying on this great start to the season. This wasn't really what I wanted to see as a Chelsea triple up owner, obviously facing Bournemouth at home in Game Week 21. Let's hope they reduce that expected clean sheets quite a bit. Then finally Aston Villa also been pretty strong, however their fixtures also looking pretty decent. My favorite part though is going to be the XG conceded, as these are the teams to target from an attacking point of view, and this week probably for captaincy. So if you guys do own a Bruno Fernandes, Southampton at the top there, followed by their newly promoted squads. We then have West Ham, Brentford and finally Spurs, so maybe some hope if you guys do own an Arsenal attacker. On the right hand side, you guys can see Southampton have been even worse, just under 3xG conceded per game. Also shout out Spurs there, once again if you guys do own a Jesus, Martinelli, that sort of thing, there should be a few goals here for Arsenal. We also have West Ham, Everton and finally Leicester, and I've said this, Everton to me aren't a strong defence, they just haven't been conceding big chances or strikers against them just seem to fumble. But these teams once again are teams to target from an attacking point of view, especially for captaincy. Are any of you guys actually going for Bruno this week? Now all these numbers come from the Opta Stats sandbox from Fantasy Football Fix. You guys can go over there if you want any other stats. Now my favorite part of the video is going to be the expected clean sheets and projected goals from the SpreadX data. So these are the stats base odds for the upcoming fixtures. Let's go over clean sheets first. And as always, the color combinations, top 5 in green, next 5 in grey, then we have pink, finally maroon, and those are going to be your color combinations of fixture difficulties. Now you guys can see this week might not be the best week for clean sheets, United at the top there with 44%, followed by Newcastle on 37%. So quite worried because I don't own Lewis Hall, this might be a clean sheet haul, and then we have Arsenal at 35%. So this week for me it's quite a tough debate, I own Raya, should I back Gabriel as well for the double up in the clean sheet? Well, at least the odds are telling us probably yes. You guys can use this if you guys have any benching dilemmas as always. We also have Liverpool and Aston Villa in the top 5. Now you guys can also see potentially boring games or more exciting games. For example, Fulham and West Ham might be an absolute goal fest. Obviously the maroon fixtures are going to be the inverse of the high scoring games, so Spurs at the bottom with 6%. Southampton, Brentford, Wolves and finally Bournemouth should also probably be avoided. Now you guys can pause this if you want to, I'll be going over to the projected goals now. Very useful for your kind of defensive rotations. Now the fixture to target this week is actually going to be the Arsenal fixture. They projected to score 2.7 goals. Now then we have Newcastle United quite tight on 2.55 versus 2.5, with also City and Chelsea in the mix. So should we actually be looking at an Arsenal captaincy option this week? But because I don't own Bruno, I'm actually looking at Isaac. You guys will notice Liverpool aren't even in the top 5, they're in the grey area, still expected to score 2.00 though. And as mentioned, a potentially high scoring game, West Ham taking on Fulham, Everton Aston Villa could actually be quite boring. Just very interesting to me here, obviously Nottingham Forest's defensive numbers are doing the work, but this has shifted my focus away from Salah potentially to Isaac. Also shout out to Bruno if you guys do own him, could be an option, otherwise Jesus with the rest in the EFL Cup could be a differential. I mean Erling Haaland's always going to be there 2.35, just don't know if you guys hold on to him. Let me know though in the comments down below which fixture you guys think will score the most goals this week. I think the Arsenal Spurs one might have a surprise for us. Now obviously the inverse of the maroon fixtures are the teams to target from a defensive point of view. For example, Southampton at the bottom there with 0.83. As always, you guys can pause the screen if you want to. Maybe you have some bench dilemmas, which player to start in the midfield department. This should hopefully help you guys out with that decision. Now the next talking point is probably going to be one of the most important of the video, and it's going to be the blank game week refresher. Now you guys might have been on Twitter this week and have been stressing out with all these EFL Cup and FA Cup games, and people drawing conclusions or assuming conclusions from them. Now I'm here to tell you, don't worry, nothing is concrete at the moment, but there's going to be 2 big blanks in the next few game weeks. Now the first blank I want to talk about is going to be as a result of the EFL Cup, and that's going to be Game Week 29. Now there are 4 fixtures at risk of being a blank, and that's going to be Arsenal vs Chelsea, Villa vs Liverpool, Fulham vs Spurs, and finally Newcastle vs Crystal Palace. Now don't worry, not all 4 of these fixtures will be blanks, only half of them, so 2 fixtures. Now the reason for this is that whoever wins the second leg, or actually the entire leg of the EFL Cup semi-final, will blank in Game Week 29 because of the EFL Cup final. So that's why there's only going to be 2 blanks, because only 2 teams will progress, and at the moment Newcastle and Spurs are leading. Now does that mean that Newcastle and Spurs will progress? Obviously not, but they do have a high chance, except the odds are saying Liverpool will win in the second leg. So I guess you guys might want Newcastle to win because it will cause less blanks. Arsenal vs Chelsea might be quite hectic. Now the next leg of the EFL Cup will be played before Game Week 25, and therefore there's still going to be a bit of time before we have some concrete information. So you guys can relax at the moment. Obviously just projections are going for the next leg results. As mentioned, at the moment it looks like Newcastle and Liverpool are expected to progress. It's not the biggest blank in the world, Game Week 29, whereas the bigger blank is going to be Game Week 34. So Game Week 34 will be the result of the FA Cup semi-finals, and obviously are going to be a few blank game weeks caused by that. Now don't stress as well, the FA Cup this week is going to be round 3, there's 5 rounds and then the quarterfinals. So a few more rounds of the FA Cup still to come before we get that clarity, and that's still going to be in a few game weeks time. So in terms of chip strategy, I do think at the moment it's a little bit too soon, and that's why I'm going to wait till I make my chip strategy video. Just wanted to give you guys the context though, if you were stressing about all these conclusions or assumptions over on Twitter. There's only projections at the moment, and I'm not stressing too much about my chip strategy. Just try and stay as flexible as possible, but I'm not here to tell you that just because Crystal Palace might blank in Game Week 29, don't target their assets for this good run of fixtures. If you guys think they score points, I would go for it. That's how I've always played FPL. Planning too much in the future can also be a hindrance. I also want to give you guys some updates of some potential injuries and squad updates. Let's go over Bournemouth and Semenyo first. So if you guys haven't seen the news, Unal as well as Evan Nielsen have gotten injured, and therefore Bournemouth don't really have a striker. Now Jebinson could kind of deputize at the position, but there have also been talks about Semenyo or Clivert up front. Now does that make Semenyo a better option? It's a little bit debatable. As I've owned him over the previous game weeks, I know his finishing isn't the best. Also added to that, Chelsea, Newcastle, Forest and Liverpool in the next 4, probably in a void and wait and see at the moment. Now I do own Semenyo, this hasn't really changed the fact that I'll probably be taking him out, just other more attractive options in the midfield department. But obviously could be an out of position player that's always attractive, and if you guys own Evan Nielsen, I'd probably be taking him out. Now the next news is going to be about João Pedro. This actually just dropped today. Now he's actually twisted his ankle in training this week, and therefore is having a scan on it. Now current expectations is that he will miss the FA Cup, and because Brighton play on Thursday, he might be touch and go for that one. So not really what we wanted to see, and we might not be getting a press conference before Game Week 21, which will be just super annoying to be honest. For me though, I probably will just keep him. If he plays against Ipswich, it's a great fixture, and at his cheaper price point, I can just bench him and hope he comes back for Game Week 22. I guess the worrying factor might actually be there that Game Week 21 and Game Week 22 is a quick turnaround, so if he misses one, probably going to miss the other one. So if you guys want to go for a Chris Wood, he has Liverpool at home though in Game Week 21, you guys can always go there if your bench is looking a little bit thin. But for me, it's probably just a wait and see, bench and see, but wanted to update you as he has quite a healthy ownership. Now as the FA Cup does progress, you might have some injuries, but because it is round 3, I'm expecting some heavy rotation. But just watch out for it, but I will update you guys in the team selection later. Now the final talking point is going to be all about Captaincy, and this week it might be the week to go differential as Mo Salah's Forest away. Now as a Liverpool fan over these previous games, United as well as Spurs last night, we haven't looked that good, but obviously Salah can always get a haul. Current projections are quite low, 6.3, but overall most players are around that 7 mark, so there's still some healthy projections for Mo Salah. Now as mentioned though, Forest's defense has been pretty solid this season, but it's not like they don't give any big chances away in their fixtures. So Salah's effective ownership will also be probably still quite high, and it's the safe option if you guys want to go there. 2 other options I have my eyes on. I own Isaac at the moment, so he looks like a great asset. Only slight concern is that he was subbed with a potential hamstring injury in the EFL Cup. Now injury might be a little bit of a stretch there, it seems like he had some discomfort. And because he misses the FA Cup game, we might not get clarification if he's going to be fine for Game Week 21. So that's kind of the only hindrance. Great fixture though, Wolves at home, and you guys saw the Wolves stats aren't looking good. On the other end, we have Bruno with Southampton at home, great fixture, and because United play Arsenal, he probably will feature in that game. Now Isaac, Bruno, same projection, 7.1, so if you guys do own the United attacker, might be quite tempted to go for him. Now besides these options, obviously Palmer's there, Bournemouth at home, as well as Erling Haaland. Can't see Brentford keeping a clean sheet. So this week might be the week of the differential captain. If Salah doesn't produce a massive haul, might be a game week to make up some points. In the comments down below, let me know your captaincy, interested to see the split this week. I'm currently on Isaac with the vice captain on Salah. Let's see if it sticks like that for that Tuesday night deadline. Hopefully we can do a deadline stream. If we do, hopefully I see you guys there. Otherwise, as always, on my Discord server, you guys can join it in the link in the description. Slightly more active there, you guys can ask me on your questions. But this is basically a wrap of it, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please like if you didn't subscribe if you have subscribed yet. Content's still to resume though for GAMEWEEK 21 with the team selection. Make sure those notifications are on for that one. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.